All right. Well, Karina does not like it when I rock my hair like this, but I don't give a fuck because I like guys. It's been really, really difficult just to talk the last day or so. 2 days, 3 days, I don't know, cavity. It fucking hurts. And I'm shocked that my teeth haven't imploded sooner. Like a Inspector Gadget spring pops out of my I'm that much of a junkie where shit like that could happen. I should start getting biomechanical tattoos on my cock. Sorry, I'm stoned. You know how I get when I smoke. Been smoking a lot of weed, and I've been using this stuff. It's like, I don't know what it is, but it feels like cocaine in your mouth. It makes it numb. It's an anesthetic. And I've also been taking antibiotics. I happen to have some because I'm such a scumbag. I just happen to have some nice antibiotics. So I apologize that, the last couple days I haven't been posting stories. It's just mostly been because it's been hard to talk. I tried to do one last night a couple times, and it was just like, it was really boring, Made me want to listen to violin music, instrumental violin music, because that's pretty much how I fucking felt inside. It was very depressing trying to do a story last night with my teeth like that. I mean, seriously, opiates deplete your calcium, and I'm trying to sound smart. I have no idea what I'm talking about. No, I mean, I don't. So I'm gonna stop. But there's a lot of like exclusive stories. We're at that time in the month, and I got to get my sponsor calls out of the way. I just talked to Joe last night for the first time in like a month, and I work with him pretty closely. He's who sends you guys stuff. I was supposed to go meet up with Sinister on Friday, but I didn't go over there because one of his good friends died from COVID, and he had to go to the funeral, which is crazy. I think the guy, it was one of his childhood friends, so he had to be in like his early 40s. That's crazy to think about that's happening. So we're probably going to get together Monday, Tuesday. I'm going to be on lockdown 23-1 with, is his name Death? Is that what his stage name is? Death, or it's Josh, or I don't know. It's Josh is what I call him. He's a really good guy, though. I like him a lot. I'm also going to have a couple surprise people on my YouTube channel this week. People that I think you guys will like. But I'm really going to focus on the exclusive stories. Plus, we got another cut of the doc coming probably tomorrow. But it's like the first 20 minutes of the movie. You guys have seen some of it, the childhood stuff, but there's stuff you haven't seen, like when I start getting into drugs in high school. And we're using the song Drug Ballad by Eminem, which for me personally, I think that song kind of personifies that entire era. Gay people in Vicodin, my fave. I don't know. It's like songs like that are going to be really expensive, and we're not even paying for the music rights. We're just trying to get our deal, and have whoever purchases it pay for the music rights. So I'm basically just putting whatever the fuck I want in it, and we have alternative music in case we can't get the rights. I mean, some stuff's really expensive. I bet for that Drug Ballad song, it's going to be like between 50 and 100,000 just for that song. But like a lot of the other music, like the Brian Jonestown Massacre that I've used in a lot of the cuts for the opening for Nick's voiceover, that song's like 3,000. Some of the other stuff I'm using is like 1,000, 5,000. So I want to put like a couple choice songs in the documentary. Definitely Drug Ballad, though. I need that one. I think once you guys see it with the footage, you'll agree. I mean, we're not done with that part, so that's why I haven't posted it yet, but I really do believe that that's going to be one of the really special parts of the movie, doing drugs to Eminem. And I'm stoned, so you know, instead of doing like a full-blown story, I'm going to do another one of these, which I may be able to do right now. I mean, it's like 6 in the morning. I woke up, I passed out after being kind of frustrated because I couldn't really get a story out because my mouth just hurt so bad. From sucking dick. I know one of you's going to say that. That's spot on. Good guess. I forgot what I was saying, but I'm gonna do this, and then I promise you, I want to get at least like 7 or 8 story videos, primarily exclusive for upper tiers, before the 1st of October. So I'm gonna put forth my best effort over the next week or so to make up for the few days this month that I wasn't posting videos. I mean, I look back at all the shit that I did post. I post a lot of stuff from the film, a lot of the interviews, photos, a lot of exclusive stories this month. So I think all in all, I think it's just really my fault. I've gotten people used to me doing stuff really frequently for somebody that creates content, especially the kind of content that I create. You know, it's not based on guests being on my show. It's just me talking about how much of a bitch I am for like an hour. It's an hour. I'm a bitch, Palabra, you know, shit like that. All right, let's get into this though. So this is Wasting Talent. This is the first book that I wrote. And this series I'd already started, and, you know, I thought that it would be interesting to read selections from the book, go through the entire book, and kind of explain what was going on while I was writing that particular part, explain what that part means, show you my dick. Like, this is boring. What's up? Sorry. I'm really immature. And I'm really stoned. But you know what? I couldn't possibly, like, I'm tired right now, want to go back to sleep, but I couldn't possibly do it feeling okay with myself if I didn't leave something for you guys. So I am making the effort for you. Before I'd gone to prison, this is back in 2009, there was a period where I got extremely fat. I mean, I couldn't see my own dick when I showered, and that's not a joke. I really couldn't. It was weird. I was on so much methadone, and, you know, some people get fat on methadone, some people don't. I personally got like Chris Farley fat, which is cool. I mean, a fat guy was nice to me the other day at 7-Eleven, and I like made a mental note. I was like, man, guy was super chill. I gotta stop with the fattest shit. That's what Karina always says, that I'm a fattest. But this is the thing, right? If I'm black, I'm allowed to make fun of black people without the social justice warriors getting all butt fuckery on us, right? If I'm gay, I'm allowed to, well, I'm not gay, but I am kind of gay. I talk about gay stuff a lot, so I guess my whole argument goes out the window. But what I was going to say is I used to be fat, so I'm able to say fat shit because I was fat at a certain point. This period of my life, I was a fucking lop, you know. Jeff and I had our falling out. You remember that whole story where the girl that I was with, Jenny, she was epileptic. She needed weed. He said he didn't have any. I ended up putting a gun in his mouth. I like put an iPod butt in. I was like listening to Immortal Technique. I was like, yeah, I'm oppressed. Upper middle class Santa Barbara. Sorry, that's, God, this is what happens. See, I'm like in between, not severely stoned, but stoned enough where I'm saying things that I'd probably cringe at later. Methadone made me fat, right? And Jeff had moved out of my house because I put a gun in his mouth. After that period, once he moved out, when he was living with me, I was smoking $600 worth of crack a day. And that's probably why I have a cavity, for real, you know? All the heroin that I've done, and definitely all the crack and meth. I was never like a huge meth guy, but I injected meth for 2 years, and I've smoked my fair share. So, I mean, I guess I am a meth guy. But every time I do, I stick shit like this in my asshole. So that's why I don't do speed, because it makes me gay. That'd be a funny t-shirt. I don't do speed, it makes me gay. Hold on. You smoke weed, gay. I do. All right, so... Oh, shit, she's gonna get mad. She just gets mad when I blaze it in the house. If she comes through that door, you know what's up. As soon as Jeff moved out, I quit smoking crack. You know, after I had that incident I told you guys about where my friend had left a kilo of cocaine, powdered cocaine at my house, and I just started doing insane amounts of it. I don't know, I stayed up for over a week on coke. And then I ended up drinking that bottle of shampoo. I was like in full-blown hallucinatory psychosis. And that was kind of like the turning point for me back in that era around like 2000, end of 2008, beginning in 2009. I was trying to do my big multi-million-dollar weed operation at the time. And we'll go into all that in more detail in the $500,000 Redux series, because there's like a lot of stuff that I never went into when I originally did that series on YouTube. But just so you know, like what my life looked like, you know, I was trying to broker this multi-million-dollar weed deal that was my retirement plan. That was my end game. You know, I mean, I'm not saying I'm like a genius or anything, but I think I was smart enough to know that I had to have some strategy to get out of selling drugs. You know, I had $250,000 cash at the time. I had, if you put together all the different paintings and stuff I probably had $1 million at that period of my life. You know, it's really hard to say, because I spent money as fast as it came in, and I was having, you know, a good time at first, and then there was this feeling of emptiness, which brings us to where I'm at with why I wanted to write in the first place. I mean, I think that some of that materialism that was going on during that time, you know, I was bought Jenny a brand new Eclipse. I had a brand new Lexus. I had a Tahoe. I had a Chevy Malibu. This is all like brand new cars. Sea-Doos, quads, and then I had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of art, and I had collectibles, and I was materialistic. I became that guy. I was like, yeah, my Tahoe tinted. Who got more money than Jay-Z? Kanye got more money than Jay-Z. On the dead homies, Kanye got more money than Jay-Z. I hear that shit all day in prison, so it kind of loops in my mind. But I became that guy. I was like very materialistic for a while, and it's just, you know, I wasn't having sex. I had gotten fat off the methadone. And my sex drive had just completely gone away. Like, and for me, that's, you know, I'm a chronic masturbator. I have sex pretty much every day. I'd say it's rare if Karina isn't bent over my staircase. That's where we have to fuck, because our place is so small, and you know, it's kind of tacky to do that with the boy in the room, even if he's sleeping. I just don't feel right about that. So I bend her over the staircase, but we probably have sex every day. Occasionally we might miss a day, but she's not one of those people that uses her vagina against me. She's like, what? You won't buy me a new Dolls Kill outfit? You don't get any pussy. Your dick stinks. She's not like that. If I don't get her anything, she'll just be like, fine. I'm not going to call you Ronaldo. I'm like, what? What? She's like, well, nothing. It's the weed talking. So for somebody like me, the point is like, it was very odd that my sex drive was completely gone at that point in my life. Jenny was 5 years older than me. I wasn't attracted to her. You know, she was just more like a caretaker than anything else. Like, for real, you know, she would like put hydrogen peroxide on like my hemorrhoids and shit when because I'd go 2 weeks without pooping because I was on methadone and so much heroin at the time. And it's not like she didn't want to have sex. She did. She was all about threesomes, and she liked girls and all that kind of stuff. But just got to a point with the methadone and with the heroin where my sex drive just went away completely. It was really odd. I mean, I remember one time I smoked crack. Like, I had relapsed on coke, and I just got horny, and I went into the bathroom to beat off. And I remember when I came, it was like harmonicas going off. I felt like some like fucking hobo having like some harmonica celebration. It was really crazy. Like, bells and whistles went off. It was gnarly. Felt like I was in a fucking Disney movie. There were like cartoon birds everywhere. It was crazy. If you don't come for 2 years, it's almost like violent. Felt like something torpedoed out of me or something. All right. So, that's the point though, you know, fat, no sex, no friends. You know, I basically would just stay in this, we had this really, really nice house with all these nice toys. I pretty much didn't leave the house. I would just go to the bookstore, and I started reading a lot of books because at a certain point, my life had no fucking meaning. And I knew I wanted to do something because I enjoyed art, and I was pretty good at writing when I was younger. Seemed like that was my original path in life. So one day I just decided to be a writer, and I started reading a bunch of books that are considered classics. And I read read all the shit that you're supposed to. You know, I read all the Hemingway, all the Scott Fitzgerald, F. Scott Fitzgerald. What did I say? Scott F. Fitzgerald. F. Scott Fitzgerald, Bukowski, you know, I mean, all the classics, and then some of the more contemporary stuff as well. And I had always told Jenny, like, hey, I know eventually I'm going to be going to jail. And if I do, it's all good, because I'll just write a book, as if somehow that would make my life complete, or, you know, I wouldn't have any other problems if I just put a book out. But that's really kind of what I was clinging on to before I even went to prison. So once I did actually go, I'd probably been reading like that and had it in my mind that I was going to be a professional writer for, I don't know, a year, maybe 6 months, a year. And it's pretty much, you know, what my life was just sitting on a beanbag, fat as fuck. And Jenny would be like, let's fuck. I'd be like, no, I'm not attracted to you. I like guys. She's like, what? I'm like, no, I don't know. I want to read. Even the last day, right before I turned myself in, you know, I woke up late that morning. I was supposed to go turn myself in to the U.S. Marshals, and she asked me, she's like, hey, do you want to fuck? And I was like, no. I'll have plenty of sex when I'm in the joint. She's like, oh my God, I knew it. You're fat. And then I went, and then I never saw her again, and she died. Which in all seriousness was really tragic when that happened, and it still is. She was a good person. Definitely didn't deserve to die, and I feel somewhat responsible for that. So I get to prison, and I go through my methadone withdrawal, which, you know, I've said in multiple times, and I still maintain that that was absolutely the worst thing that I've ever been through. You know, kicking heroin compared to kicking methadone is like having someone slap you compared to somebody hitting you in the face with a sledgehammer. You know, that's how much more severe the withdrawal is for the methadone. And you really, like, you know, I've told the story in depth about when I had the Paisa Celly, and he was like singing me like Paisa Spanish fucking love songs, and they gave me the ibuprofen. Remember that? The strong kind, 800 milligram ibuprofen. But it was more than that. You know, I'm facing 10 years in prison. They're telling me that that's what they're like, unless you snitch, you're going to get 10. That's what they're telling me at first when I get there. And I wasn't willing to do that. So in my mind, I had mentally prepared to do 10 years. And then I'm going through the worst withdrawal of my entire life. I mean, I didn't even know, I'd kicked heroin before, and that's horrible. I mean, I'm not trying to like discount heroin withdrawal, because it really is a horrific feeling. It's just methadone is literally 1,000 times worse. Severe. Every little inch of your body hurts. And then when you have like a 1-inch cock, it's like, feels like your dick's getting chopped off by a sewer rat or something. I heard Steven Tyler from Aerosmith talk about kicking methadone, and he said that, you know, his doctor had compared it to a third-degree burn victim, that's how severe the pain is. And I've asked doctors and they've agreed with that. I mean, it really wreaks havoc on you psychologically, physiologically, and sexually. You fart cum. Like, I'm kicking. I don't know where that cum came from. It's disgusting. And then you check in. Yo, I gotta go, man. All right. So, I'd gone through that, facing 10 years. Jenny died from an overdose. And I had a Southsider cellie at the time, Jenny, and he was a fucking psychopath. I thought I was going to get raped for sure. Sometimes I'd even curl up and I'd be like, just do it then. You're not going to rape me. Fucking bitch. Oh. All right, I won't. I really did think that he was capable of doing that. And he was not a nice, he was like, I mean, he had my back and he looked out for me for sure. But, you know, I could tell he didn't like me. I knew that when I wasn't in there, he'd talk shit to his Southsider friends about me in Spanish. Like, hey, that white boy's fucking stupid. His fucking dick is tiny. He's disgusting, queer. I just had that sense that he'd talk shit to me. So I get past all this stuff, right? The kicking the methadone. Eventually, I get sentenced to 5 years. And at that point, they had moved me to another part of MDC Los Angeles, which is the federal jail. When you catch a Fed case and you're in the LA area. And they had taken me to a new unit, 9 South. And that's when Boots was my cellie. And I had it pretty good up there. You know, there were trannies up there. I'm not saying I had sex with them. I'm just saying there were trannies there. I don't know why that's a detail, but it's not like it made it better. Like, damn, trannies fucking bomb, fool. Hey, I fuck shit like that on the street, fool. Straight up. But it was just, I guess it was just, you know, in a place for the first time since I'd been busted. By the time I got up to 9 South, I'd probably been in jail for about 6 months, you know. I had just gotten sentenced, and that was the first time that I felt like a sense of belonging. Now, I had really good friends while I was up there, and people that had never been to prison either, you know, and that was a relief because now I wasn't around hardened criminals. I became friends with this guy named Danny Cohen, and he had done a $30 million Ponzi scheme with his dad. They were doing some sort of Ponzi scheme with diamond collecting, where they're like, yeah, give us $1 million and we'll give you $1 million back with a diamond. Like, okay. And then they'd like take that person's $1 million and do something. I don't know how Ponzi schemes work, but you know, basically they were using other people's money to do investments and then try to make money with that money to pay them back and then make money off those people's money. And I became friends with him instantly. I mean, he was cool. You know, he was kind of overweight, but in a charming way. You know, he was like, kind of looked like a Guido thug or something. And he wore like a thick chain. I'm not sure how he got that in there. I think that was considered like a religious necklace or something, and you're allowed to have those. He was married to like a 22-year-old Victoria's Secret model. He'd show me photos and drove Lamborghinis. He's like, look, there's my 22-year-old Victoria's Secret model wife sucking my dick in my Lambo. I'm like, your life's bunk. Check out my shit. Here's my quad. So, bomb. But, you know, we connected, I think, because we were into similar movies, you know. We would always quote, like, The Big Lebowski and Boogie Nights. Those became, like, our inside jokes, and we played a lot of pinochle and spades together. And he would always tell me that he was going to beat the case. He's like, I got $1 million defense team. There's no way I'm going to do any time. And he'd tell me that. And you find that a lot when you're in the federal system. You'll find guys that have just an absurd amount of money, obscene. And they have this kind of faux optimism because nobody wants to believe that once they get busted by the feds that they're stuck in the system and there's nothing you could do about it. You could be a billionaire. They don't give a fuck. They will break you off. And I guess, because of my naivety, I'd never been to the feds either. I just assumed that he was definitely going to beat the case. He's the guy that one morning he's just like, hey, open your hand. And he just gave me a handful of green Oxycontin 80s. He's like, that's a gift. I mean, he just had money like that for Christmas. He put like $500 on everybody's account. That was everybody's commissary. He put like 500 on everybody's books that was in our entire unit. He just had a lot of money like that. And that was my good friend. And I was friends with Boots. He was a skinhead. He's like, I don't like black people. I was like, yeah, me neither. I like voted for Obama like a few months before that. I was like, yeah, black people are whack. I hate them. They're not even people. He's like, yeah, they're not. You're cool. I was like, oh, thanks, man. But he was my friend. I mean, for all of his flaws, I'm not into skinheads. I'm not into racist people, but he was nice to me. And really, for me, a lot, I mean, I'm not going to say that about a child molester. I'm not like, well, that Chomo, nice guy. I can look past what he did. Yeah, right. Fuck, I would never, that's one thing that I could never look past, I really feel the same way about people that cooperate on their case. I fucking hate rats, I've been friends with people that have ratted on their case. Boston George did, I don't want to go into that with him, but for the most part, it's hard for me to forgive people even for that. Even if they didn't tell on me specifically, it's still like the fact that I was ratted out, I kind of take it personally. Hold on. Okay, get my red line, which is going to hurt with my cavity. So I was kind of like in this good place, and Danny Cohen had told me when I was in there, because I told him that I wanted to be a writer. Now, at this point, I hadn't written anything. Like I said, before I went to prison, I was reading all the classics, and I had this, I always get these weird things in my mind. I'm like, if I read 100 classics, I'll write one. That was like my whole strategy of like how I was going to become a bestseller. I did become a best-selling author. You only have to sell 7,500 units of your book to be considered a bestseller, and I did that 4 years ago. So eventually I did reach my goal, but back then I had, I just assumed if I read enough classic novels that I'd be able to churn one out. And I would talk to Danny about how I wanted to be a writer. Now, he grew up in Calabasas, California. That's where Justin Bieber lives, the Kardashians. It's a very ritzy upscale place, and that's where he had grown up. Now, one of his best friends growing up is one of the biggest directors in Hollywood. You guys would definitely know the name. If I just said the name, you'd know who it is. I'm not going to do that because I have some ongoing complications with him and this whole situation that someday I'll go into. But Danny always told me when I talked about how I wanted to be a writer that when I got out of prison, go and contact this guy. Said that Danny sent you. Say that Danny said that that Danny owed me a favor and that he'd make it happen for me. He's this big famous director, and he is. And he's directed a lot of movies that I like, and I know he's directed a lot that you've liked. One of the only people that everybody knows this person's name. Years later, when I was going through my breakdown, I had found that guy on Instagram. I saw that he was friends with an artist that I know who's pretty well known, and he knows like a lot of like big time celebrities and stuff. And I saw that this particular director was commenting on my artist friend's Instagram, but he was commenting from a fake Instagram account. Didn't say his real name. But I looked at the pictures and I knew that it was him, and I sent him a DM and I said, hey, Danny Cohen and I were in the feds together. He said to hit you up and say that he owes me a favor and see if you could do something for me. And he was really, this is when I had gotten the rights to Blow 2. And he was really trying to help me at that point. That was like 3 years ago. Some shit has gone down with that person since. I guess he kind of ended up being not a good person, or at least he's in a social circle of an enemy that I have. But like I said, I'll get into that at a different time. But it was interesting that I happened to find the guy, drop Danny's name, and he was actually willing to help me based on it. Also around that time, I'd been living with Boots, and he had the keys for the unit that we were at. So he was the shot caller. He's the guy that told everybody what to do. He's like, today, we're going to suck each other's dicks. And then we're going to do arts and crafts. That's not what a shot caller does, but I'm sure there's somewhere that are saying shit like that. I'm sure there's weird stuff that goes on in prisons, namely in Texas, for any of you that are from Texas. I heard some really sketchy shit goes on in prison in Texas. I lived with him. He was my cellie. Remember, we'd gotten caught with a shank, and I took responsibility for it. That really ended up fucking me. That single event. That's why I ended up doing so much time in like really fucked up prisons like Victimville, was because I had taken the shank for this guy, you know? I mean, I didn't take a shank in the back. The cops found one in a mattress, and I was like, yeah, that's mine. Because I was trying to help him because the guy was fighting a pretty serious case at the time. One day, another skinhead showed up there. You know, I don't know if they have secret skinhead codes or anything. Like, they get there, and he's like, do you have this half of the seashell? And he's like, I do. And they like put their like a heart skinhead seashell together. They were like, our powers combined. Let's move together. Let's move in together. You know, and that's what happened. Like, Boots ends up kicking me out of the cell. When this other skinhead comes, he's like, you're not racist enough. Get out of here, white boy. I'm like, oh, okay. So I had to leave. I had to move in with this other guy. His name was, I think his name was Greg. Something like that. Greg, or I don't know. I don't remember if when I'd gone into my 5 years in federal prison, if I had ever mentioned this guy. But he had a pretty interesting situation happen. He was a really cool guy. He was from like the South Bay of LA. Kind of heavy set guy with like one of those weird braided goatees. And he had like this big set of like fake yellow, like all these teeth were like fake, but they were like really yellow. They didn't even look like, I thought those were his real teeth. I was like, damn, homeboy, got some fucking gingivitis, dog. But those were just his fake teeth. But that guy, I don't remember the situation, but you know, him and I had gotten into it. We got into a physical altercation because he was the guy that was running the Peckerwoods. You know, Boots had the keys for the whites, but at a certain point, right, at a certain point, the Woods and skinheads like broke up. You know, we're like, we're not gonna do this. They like, skinheads are always on some bullshit. They want you to like march and be like, 88, 88. I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking do that, man. I'm not a skinhead. Especially now, I got a Mexican kid. I could not see myself working out. I like get up from a burpee. I'm like, 88, 88, 88. Isn't that 3? 88. Oh, all right. And that's how those guys are. But anyway, him and I had like gotten into this whole thing. I mean, it's in my 5 years in federal prison series, but eventually we end up moving in with each other. What was interesting about this guy is that he was just like a surfer guy from like Redondo Beach, you know, which is the South Bay, LA. And he was into surfing and smoking pot. That's it. He was like a Spicoli, like some fat Spicoli with fake teeth. He was a really nice guy, though. I like this guy a lot, even after we got into our little scuffle. And he had gone on an airplane, and he said that he had an 1/8 in his boots. He was wearing like cowboy boots, right? Which, that's not suspect. I always said that. I was like, wait, whoa. Surfer, fat, fake teeth, cowboy boots? You're on meth, homie. He's like, he claimed that he wasn't a druggie, but he says that he goes on this airplane and he's got an 1/8 of weed in his cowboy boot. So he's sitting on the airplane. The flight hasn't started yet. He's just sitting there. It's, you know, the preamble before you actually take off, which is always trippy when you look out the window. So I was like, damn, pretty wild. You go way up there. And these air marshals, or I guess U.S. marshals, come on the plane and they arrest him. Somehow they knew that he had weed in his boot. He was never able to explain that part either. I'm like, what? Wait a second, Greg. How'd the cops know there was weed in the boot? He's like, I'm not a chomo if that's what you're saying. I'm like, I'm not, Greg. He's like, here's my paperwork. And he was in there for what he said he was. But they end up arresting him. And he was never able to explain why that happened, right? But they arrest him and they detain him in the airport. Once they do that, the DEA gets called because having drugs on an airplane, even if it's marijuana, something that I smoke daily and I recommend, it's a wonderful medication for depression and PTSD and insomnia. It's for real. I'm not joking. It's helped my life quite a bit. If I didn't have it, I don't know if I'd be able to like keep it together like I am right now. Really helps me address things that are wrong with me in my mind. So the DEA questions him after he gets arrested, right? They call the DEA for an eighth of weed. They're like, we got one. Come on, Harry, bring the boys down from the station. Found a criminal with an eighth of weed in his cowboy boot. So they kind of question him, whatever. They're like, where's this marijuana coming from? He's like, dude, it's an eighth. Are you serious? Can you just, write me a citation or whatever you're going to do? They're like, this is a federal offense, Gregory. You're going to go to prison. You're going to go to the federal prison for this. He's like, yeah, whatever. Well, they end up getting a search warrant for his house. They find like 10,000 hits of ecstasy. He had like a 20-year-old son. And his son was an ecstasy dealer. This is the fucking story he told me. I don't know. But it was interesting. I was like, whoa. It's interesting. He's like, yeah, man. And he ended up getting, I think he got 25 years for that. He did have a criminal record for like, I think like assault or something back in the 90s. But yeah, he ended up getting like 20 or 25 years. I don't remember. But he was my cellie at the time. So he was my cellie and I used to tell him stories. Now at this point in my life, I'm only 23 years old. I only have stories up until the Mike Virgin era and then some of the drug dealing stuff. And he liked the stories back then. I remember he heard Mike Virgin. He told me that was the best story he ever heard in his entire life. And I'd already been kicking the idea around with that other guy, Danny Cohen, the guy that had done the Ponzi scheme, with the idea that I was going to start writing a book while I was in prison. When I was living with this guy, Greg, the guy with the weird teeth, the guy that got like 20-something years for his son's ecstasy that was at his house. When I was living there, that's when I really started sitting down and actually attempting to write. What I did and how I wrote Wasting Talent is this book, in case you haven't read it, is about, well, first of all, let's look at this book. So this is a photo of me from Penthouse. That's a really homoerotic photo. I'm just basically trying to get my dick sucked. Should I do it with the sunglasses on? They're like, for sure. Now, on the cover, that's my ex. It's my ex-fiance. That's the one that I was with for 2 years when I was sober. And what we had done is we covered her with fake blood. And that's on the floor of our condo from when I had first gotten out in 2013. And I put all this fake blood on her. Originally, I wanted like a girl slitting her wrist, even though there's no girl slitting her wrist in the book. I just wanted something that looked violent or that would like kind of represent violence because, I don't know, just wanted it to be like drug oriented and violent. But I couldn't figure out how to do that. So we take this picture of her naked with this fake blood on, and it's just not doing it. I'm like, it's missing something. So I go and I get the spoon, I bend it, and I place it right in front of her like that. And the camera that I used, I put on the floor, and I put all my favorite junkie books to like hold up the camera. I put Requiem for a Dream, Train Spotting, Basketball Diaries, Permanent Midnight, Tony O'Neill's Digging the Vein, and I put Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. put like all my favorite drug novels to prop up the camera because I felt like some of that cult status would rub off on me. And that's the cover that I've had. And now I donate all the money from the proceeds of this book to send free books to people in prison. If you have somebody incarcerated, let me know. Comment on this video and I will send them a free book. No charge to you. So once I'm living with Greg and I've been like having these inspirational talks with Danny Cohen, and I'm friends with Boots, and he, like, at the time I was writing letters to the judge for people as a hustle. I would make it sound like, you know, it was a letter to the judge written by the person. The only problem is that I didn't really modify it for personalities, so I'd be like, Your Honor, I find the evidence that you have emblematical of a statement you've made about race and social discontinuity. And I'd be giving it to some like toothless essay. He'd be like, hey, dog, this shit sounds fucking female. For real, they're gonna let me off. And the judge would like know that they didn't write it because it was like some essay about racism and shit. But people would pay me like $50 to write these letters to the judge. So, you know, I had people like Boots encouraging me to start really writing. But there's a difference between writing a letter to the judge and actually sitting down and writing fiction like that. And I'd never, I mean, I'd written fiction, but it'd been since I was a lot younger. You know, it was when I'd won that contest when I was 9 years old. I don't think I wrote any fiction past that point. Maybe a little bit in high school when I was in like a creative writing class, but it'd been a long time since I'd even attempted fiction. And I don't know why, but one night I'm in the cell and I'm just sitting up in my bunk and I start thinking about the time that I did too much speed and I went and the whole pocket butthole situation happened, which I posted a video, I don't know, about a year ago. And it's just me telling the pocket butthole story. And I think that it's a really funny story. I did too much meth. I got horny. I went to the porn store. I bought a pocket butthole. I fucked it. I got caught. And then the kid that borrowed my Volvo ended up totaling the car and they found the pocket butthole, all these lubrications, these stacks of like really weird meth porn magazines, chicks with dicks, you know, dope shit like that. And my mom had to go get my car and they had to go through the inventory itemized. They were like 1 pocket anus, 1 chicks with dicks, volume 9, the Wango, you know, shit like that. And my mom was like, you know, turning red because it was super embarrassing for her. But I thought that that was a funny story. The part about the items getting itemized and all that, that actually, that never made it to the book. And I think that what made me write it in this weird style was, first of all, obviously it was about doing crystal meth, you know? So I wanted, whatever style I wrote this particular part in, I didn't know that it was going to be part of a book. I didn't know what I was going to use it for, but I had seen the movie and I really liked the book, The Rules of Attractions by Bret Easton Ellis. That's a writer that I was reading quite a bit right before I got into prison. He wrote American Psycho. He wrote Less Than Zero, Rules of Attraction, The Informers. They made movies out of all of those books. He was one of my favorite writers. He actually bought the rights to one of Tony O'Neill's books, and he's turning it into a TV show right now. And he's also working on a Charles Manson movie with Rob Zombie. But yeah, I love Bret Easton Ellis. If you haven't read him, I suggest that you do. And there's this scene out of the movie Rules of Attraction where it talks about this guy's trip to Europe, and he's talking about like doing acid and like hooking up with random dudes, random girls in museums and shit while he's in France. They wrote it in this very like staccato, fast, hyper stylistic way, right? And I always thought that that was really cool. I was like, wow, that would be a good way to write about meth. So that's how I wrote this part, and I'm going to read it to you now. So this is the pocket butthole from page 47 of Wasting Talent. The pocket butthole. I haven't read something for a long time and I'm all stoned, so let's just see if I can get in the zone. All right, the pocket butthole. At the time I did too much. I was with Jill then, still in the band, touring. Someone kicked down a teener after a show. I shot half. One shot, in the bathroom. Jill watching TV in the other room. I got really high. Shooting meth is a strange feeling. Fervid static takes your body over in a single rush, straight to your penis. Pubic hair flutters, makes you cough. Wide-eyed perversion spell. All you want is sex. I go to Jill immediately to fuck. I want to lick her butt. I do lick her butt. She likes it. I think she's a slut. I tell her she's a slut. She gets mad. We stop fucking. She takes a Xanax. She passes out angry. I'm paranoid. I peek out the window. I can't concentrate. I start thinking about masturbating. I get hard. I search the motel room frantically for a picture to jerk off to. Only thing I can find is a TV guide. Typical. I lock myself in the bathroom. I beat off to an old chick on the cover. She's way past 60. It does nothing for me. It feels good to masturbate. I shoot more speed. I suddenly have the urge to look at my own asshole in the mirror. I do. My asshole is hairier than I anticipated. I start crying, but don't know why. I stop looking at my asshole in the mirror. The crying stops. I'm horny. I have to get porn. I go next door to a liquor store. Guy behind the counter looks like a cop. I get nervous. I ask to use the bathroom. I check my asshole again in the mirror. I don't cry, but stop anyway. Guy behind the counter is a cop. I buy the porn anyway. I feel tough. I leave, back to the motel to masturbate in peace. I sneak in the bathroom. 4 porno magazines. I flip through the pages. I can't decide on an image to stick with. I start tearing out different pages I like, predominantly butthole and anal shots. I put ripped out pages of pornography around me. I run out of room. I use toothpaste to glue the pages to the walls. Bathroom covered with gaping vaginas and assholes. Things get weird. I go to the back of the Hustler. Chicks with dicks. Could be hip. I try jerking off to it. Not hip. I wink at myself in the mirror for not being gay. I laugh at the irony because winking at myself in the mirror is so fucking gay. I wink again. I did too much speed. I play with myself for hours in a perverted trance. I suddenly have the urge to drive to a 24-hour porn shop and buy pocket pussy. I tell the guy behind the counter to go ahead and throw in a pocket butthole as well. I wink at him to tell him that I'm not gay. Then I remember the mirror and how fucking gay the wink looked. I panic. I leave the store carefully. I jerk off behind the wheel on the way back to the motel. I make eye contact with a black chick driving a minivan at a stoplight. I think she knows I'm masturbating, so I run the light. I get back to the motel safely. I use the complimentary strawberry lube that was given to me by the guy behind the counter that I winked at. When I open the package, everything looks different. The perfect vagina advertised looks like a dog toy. The pocket butthole looks like a rubber turd. I lather my ass cheeks anyway, stink in the bathroom with strawberries and masturbation. I lick the pocket pussy. I hump the pocket butthole. Jill walks in. Whoa, 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 Alex says. You jacked off to chicks with dicks? I didn't do anything. It didn't do anything for me. Dude, he says. And that will go down as a literary masterpiece, The Pocket Butthole. That's Will De Los Santos' favorite part of the whole book. And after I'd read that, I shared it with my friends. I remember that particular night we got drunk on Pruno. So we're all sitting around Boots' cell like it's a fucking apartment or something. And I pull this little pocket butthole section that I had written. That's the only thing I'd written. I had written nothing else for Wasting Talent, and I never changed one fucking word, by the way. That is exactly how I read it back then in 2009. And we were all drinking, and I pulled out the pocket butthole, and I read it to them. And they were all laughing, and they loved the pocket butthole. and everybody really encouraged me to keep writing. But that was the first thing that I'd actually written for the book. And like I said, I kept it intact 100%. I'm very stoned. My cavity hurts. I am going to go sleep, but I wanted to get something to you guys because I am a solid motherfucker like that. But I promise I will work hard on posting videos as soon as I can. And I want to get like a nice chunk of them done in the next week before the 1st. And start out with all new series and finish out the old ones. Or we'll do a poll and we'll figure out exactly what you guys want to do. And we're also going to do another contest for me to fly out and meet someone. I'm going to fly out and meet Danny. And I want to get the sponsor calls done over the next couple days. Palabra.